full council meeting. It's normally a planning, park and recreation, but because of some of the items that needed to be discussed, it was converted. Before we begin, I'm going to invite any members of the public that wish to stand, and also members of the council that wish to stand, as we hold a moment's silence for an ex-councillor who passed away, which is Councillor and ex-mayor Peter May. Thank you, everybody. If you'd like to have a seat. And for those who don't know, that Peter was on the council and mayor of Oakham in 1993 and 1998.
Chairman, can I just say that the funeral is at All Saints on, or are you going to say?
No, you carry on.
The 19th of February at 2 o'clock at All Saints, even though he lives in.
Brilliant, thank you. As we go into the agenda, just before we go to the item one of the apologies, there have been two items that are withdrawn this evening at relatively short notice, so we won't be discussing them in any format whatsoever. There's on the item 13, planning applications number 4, the Mr. Alan Wadsworth one to do the fell 14 number yew trees. That has been withdrawn, but we'll be coming back to council at a later date, so we won't be discussing that. And item 15, the neighbourhood plan, that has been withdrawn today, and that has been withdrawn with a view that it will come back to council, but there will be an opportunity where the councillors will be invited to a separate meeting because of the length and depth of discussion that this generated. So there will be an opportunity for all councillors to discuss it, and because it's not on the item, we won't be talking about it.
I need to say, I have spent a lot, and I mean a lot of time on this, not doing other things, to get through it all, and I am appalled that it's now at this late stage being cancelled.
Thank you. Your comments are noted. However, I mean, some councillors had not given all of their feedback, and the neighbourhood plan working group wanted to make sure that they'd understood everybody's comments, and because all comments and opinions had not come back to them, they wanted to.
When did it say that we had to? Sorry.
Right. Okay. Anyway, it's not up for a debate. All right. That's the end of that. I'm going to go around the table. I'll only speak to people that raise their hands. Anybody this evening that no, you've spoken once, Councillor Skipworth. Yeah. Anybody this evening that breaches council regulations and interrupts the chairman or acts in an unruly manner, I'm not going to have the same trouble that we had at the last meeting. It was very unprofessional of everybody. So I'm going to ask everybody to I'm going to remind you all that you are councillors. I'll go around the table. I'm going to go around this way, around here. So I'll go to Councillor Clough.
Can I just say we weren't given a closing date for dates for comments. I have asked for closing date for comments, but apparently one wasn't given to the council, so we don't actually have any idea of when we have to have those comments in. Okay,
I'm not going to comment on that because there was a time given. Right, Councillor Lucas.
It isn't about the neighbourhood plan. Please, can I request that when the yew trees come back, that the clerk notifies me and the assistant tree warden as soon as it is received in the office.
Yep.
4 days is not long enough for us to do it.
No, right, thank you.
Thank you.
Some of these points, this is another thing about councillors on this council, some points that are made in email to the clerk and to the chairman, if they've been answered in email, then fair enough, okay? But point noted. Councillor Brooks, you wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, I just sort of echoing the fact that a lot of us have spent time and we had comments, but in my personal position, I was not going to give my comments.
Okay, well let's move on then.
And I was going to give them, and I'm doing this for the benefit of Anne, I was going to give them at the proper consultation because I believe that's the only time that we will be taken notice of. Because we were going to exempt the item which would have removed the people from the working group because they're not councillors, so it would have actually been...
We're moving on now, Councillor Brooks. So we're not here to debate the neighbourhood plan, so we're going to move on. We're going to move on to apologies. To receive apologies from... Does anybody else want to comment? No, right. Councillor Neil, looking for a proposer for Councillor Neil.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sally Ann, and seconded by Joyce. All those in favour, show of hands. That's 10 hands, 11 hands, I think. Yes? Peter, yes. That's unanimous. Declarations of interest. Are there any disclosable pecuniary interests that people want to make in respect to items on the agenda? They should disclose them. Has anybody got any interest? No. Any other interest they may want to in respect to the agenda? No. Right, okay, that was easy. Item 3 is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on January the 9th. The only person that would be abstaining, I think, would be Peter, because you were not here, were you, Peter? So is there any comments that people want to make or any amendments? Otherwise I'll be looking for somebody to propose by Councillor Lucas, seconded by Councillor Bottomley. All those in favour? So that's 10 and 1 abstention. And then item 4 is the chairman's... I'll sign these. I think that tonight. Should have taken the pill.
Thank you.
Right, hold on. Neighbourhood plan? Yeah. We've moved through that now, Councillor, so we're not going to discuss it. No, thank you. We're not going to do it. Thank you. Item 4 is Chairman and Members' reports. Received reports from the Chairman and Members.
Peter's got one down as well.
Right, so Peter, Councillor Ind.
Yes, I attended the Parish Council Forum Working Group as your representative. Next meeting is the 4th of March. We have a good agenda. The Chief Exec of NALC is coming to tell about changes in their operation, so I think it's important to hear that. We're looking at speeding in Rutland. We're going to also look at Neighbourhood Watch. They are inviting the Chief Constable. Whether he'll come or not, I don't know at this stage, but
as long as he doesn't speed getting there.
Be good if he does. And some other good topics. We had a good, reasonable turnout from the council last time, and I hope we can keep it up because you're missing opportunities to hear some good information.
When is the next meeting?
4th of March. Monday, 4th of March, 7 o'clock. Council Forum. Council Chair.
Yeah.
At the council. PM. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bottomley, this is on the...
St George's Barracks.
Oh, yes.
After speaking to obviously the report will be given, or full report will be given on the next meeting, but today we went round St George's Barracks as part of the advisory group, got a lay of the land, had a good look about where everything is supposed to be going, but everything is still up in the air at the moment, and more will become apparent on the next meeting.
Brilliant, okay. Good, and no others, are there? Councillors, questions, to answer any questions previously, somebody want to undo Anne's water for me? That wasn't one of them. To answer questions previously notified, no questions notified, was there?
No.
Deputations by the public. Members of the public are invited. Apologies, obviously, that 2 items have been withdrawn. So obviously we wouldn't ordinarily be taking comments on those. So if there's any other items that are still on the agenda that members of the public would like to raise or talk about? No? Good. There you go, that's easy, isn't it? So item 7, I believe, is... Yes.
Oh yes, did everybody get what I sent round?
Yeah.
Thank you to Councillor Clough for
So who
pointing it out.
Is that the paper?
Yeah. So the So it's been amended for the little, on the horseshoes.
Right, so I'll open this up to the table. Anybody want to comment on this chain thing? Councillor, I'll go with Regalia. Councillor Brooks, I'll go with first, and then we'll come over to Councillor Buxton.
Yes, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 2012, or it might have been 2013, when this exact same company quoted for the council and some additional regalia for wives or spouses or whatever you want to call them, and the deputy mayor's chain. And at that time, this council unanimously voted that we weren't going to spend money. I won't say waste it because that's my opinion. I find it very sad that the council is considering in 2019 spending money on regalia. I have questions which will go through the chair on the basis we have this chain, which is hideously long. I agree with it. It's because everybody wants their name added every year. That could stop. My proposal will be, I know it's not the time for proposal, is that we spend some money professionally shortening that chain, using the surplus with the medallion of the deputy mayors to make two suitable things, and we vote as a council to stop adding names to it, because when that was insured valued, it was £18,000. If we buy a new one, what are we going to do with that? We can't leave £18,000 of gold nailed up on the wall. I don't know what the value of the original town council chain is, but when I first come here I thought that was a motorbike chain, you know, but we can't do that. So are we going to be throwing away £18,000?
18?
Yeah, that's what the insurance quote was on it. I know that's a replacement thing, but we do spend each year, I think it's about £200-300 on a new link. Maybe time's come to stop it, because I don't think it's horrible. I've seen many, I won't mention councils, but I've seen that have got hideous curled up things, look like S, which might give away near my town, but I think it is nice, but it's got too long. And I hope people can take on board what I hope to propose later, but I can't propose that we spend this money. I work now, many of us work in the room, and we're forced to pay council tax, and I don't see we should be spending any of it on things like this.
Councillor Buxton, I think, is next.
Yeah. Yes, I think we should spend the money on it. That one that you have now is fairly hideous, in my view. It looks like a load of paper clips all stuck together. No, I think we should spend the money to uphold the dignity of the town.
Thank you, Paul. Councillor Skipworth.
Right, as far as I can see, there's only one quote. That was my first thing, and we've always been told that we have to get several quotes.
Sorry, I can't hear.
There's only one quote, and we're constantly told that we have to have more than one quote. I agree that it looks cumbersome, but the jewel, I can't see why we have to replace the jewel, to be honest. Why can't we use the same one and have a plain chain? Because the names are up there. Why do we have to have names on the chain? We can have the names up there and a fairly plain but heavy chain with that jewel, and that would cut the price a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Skipworth. I think Councillor Bottomley had his hand raised. Did you? And then we'll come to Councillor Clough.
I like to think of the office as an institution, really. There's a lot of history in this town, and the chairman and the mayor holds quite a significant part. If we can make anything look better or approach the town, make it everything more, put a bit of a shine on things, I think we should do so. I'm in favour of it, but I am intrigued by Martin's idea of having something else done, which could well lead the chairman to put your own stamp on things, if you were willing to do any sort of design work on it. So I do think that's what Mike said isn't without merit, but happy days.
Councillor Clough.
I don't think it looks ugly at all.
Thank you.
I think
I feel like I'm at an auction.
He's talking about the chain.
Yeah, sorry,
I
Councillor Clough.
think if the chain was shortened to make it more wearable, I see no reason why we shouldn't continue with it. If you felt it was awkward to wear, we could perhaps have a velvet collar made that it could be stitched to, and that could be done locally, which would be a lot less expensive, which would make it sit better. And the third option would be we could buy a cheap one for you to wear at meetings and just save the best one for when you go out for best occasions. So it gets worn less and is kept safely for other occasions. You can pick one up on eBay for £120 apparently.
Okay, Councillor Lucas.
Yeah.
Councillor Lucas. You don't have to stand, Councillor Lucas, if it's
It's
difficult.
okay because I'm going to.
Oh, serious.
This has been on the cards for a long, long time. And for those who have to wear it will know what a cumbersome thing it is. I did actually investigate putting it on a felt collar, and that didn't get passed. I think, like Councillor Buxton, it's about time we actually were more professional. And while I'm on the subject of this being so cumbersome, I'm going to suggest that we get rid of the jewel, as you're calling it, because that is it's no use putting faces. That is a hand-me-down from the district council. That's got nothing at all to do with the image of Oakham Town Council. And I think we could have a better medal on the bottom of that. That's something that's been handed down from the Rutland District Council. Come on, folks, let's be a bit more upmarket and more professional.
Thank you, Councillor Lucas. No, Councillor,
no question. Just a quick.
Well, when
how old is this town council? Because I've been told we're only 25 years old. We missed the 20th birthday when Richard White was clerk, and I think that's significant when we start looking at
Thank
the
you.
area that.
I'm going to stop you there. Stop.
Does anyone know how old we are, Chair?
Right. I'm going to let Councillor Romney speak first.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I did the original paper, and then the clerk took it over and wrote it a bit better than I could, I'm afraid. But the only reason the paper was brought originally, and that was from my point of view, was that when we sat doing the budget, everybody and his mother is whinging about how much money we've got in earmarked reserves.
Yes.
And one of the earmarked reserves was for regalia. So my thinking was, let's cut down the earmarked reserves, the money's there, let's have a new chain.
Yes.
That's it, thank you.
Right, to answer, is everybody
I
else?
just want to know what that one says on it.
I'm going to come to that
Oh,
now.
sorry.
Right, to answer your question, the original Urban District Council, to which, I'll put my finger there, the original Urban District Council was formed around about 1903. If you care to go and have a look at the minute books, they're in the Wigston Records office,
Yes.
and I have looked at them. They're very interesting read. Everything was done in beautiful writing back in them days, and there's a record there. In 1974, this piece at the bottom was added that says Town Council, so let's put us back at 1974, which is around about, I don't know, 40 whatever years it is. And yes, the reason why maybe this has come up, for a number of reasons, we've mentioned the length of the chain, how cumbersome it is, but on here it does say Urban District Council, whereas the suggestion of this regalia, where it says Oakham Town Council, it also says Mayor underneath, and then obviously it's got this new chain. So yes, there's nothing to say that we couldn't use the existing chain, the existing jewel, as you refer to it, on a new chain, but certainly something needs to be done because obviously it does keep falling off. To be clear on this, we're not talking if there was a figure mentioned by Councillor Brooks of £18,000, forget that for a moment. We're talking about an item which is covering £5,000, all right? So that's the figure, not 18. Don't get misconstrued on that.
About the value
Thank you. Thank you. And then also to put something else straight, when I became mayor in 2013, I actually said at that point then I do not want an extra link doing because of the cost.
Yes.
And since 2013 we've not been spending any money on adding links.
Yeah.
So I've in theory saved £600. Can I have that please? No, right, okay. So in actual fact we've saved, since 2013 we've not had any new links put on this chain that I'm aware of. We did have some repairs done because the rivets went on the back and the shield kept falling off the front. Okay, but in actual fact the jewel, if I'm honest, is actually quite solid, but the problem is the chain. I mean, I put it on this evening, I don't know if it's twisted or not, but it twists and it is very difficult to
And
do.
it has been fixed.
And it's been fixed 2 or 3 times, it's gone to the jewellers. It's not something you can go down to the local, no disrespect to Timpson's, but you can't go down to Timpson's and ask them to do a quick fix on this, because yes, they could probably do it, but this is potentially up to an £18,000 insured item, that if it goes missing or isn't treated correctly, then yes. And there is a lot of history connected with it. You've got all the facts in front of you. The decision is yours. Is there anybody who wants to make any proposals?
Propose that it's accepted. Thank you.
Right, so there's a proposal on the table that the full thing is done. Does anybody want to second that?
No.
Right, Paul wants to second it. Anybody want to say anything on that before I go?
Yes.
Peter, sorry.
I think it's fairly modest, so I think we should go ahead with it. You know, it's not a big cost, as the Deputy Mayor has said. We've got the reserves there. Oh, right, we don't want to spend money unnecessarily, but I think it would be a good move. It'd look the part. The existing chain could be put away securely, but on view.
Yeah, there's that one up there.
You know, obviously we've got to watch the insurance side of it, but I think we could make this room better altogether, and that could be part of it. It's still looking a bit scruffy. We've done the tables, but it still needs to be tidied up altogether.
Okay, so we still have a proposal in the second. Councillor Skipworth wants to make a comment.
Yeah.
Or an amendment or whatever.
Just think that we should get some other quotes, because I know of places, and everybody else does, I'm sure, where we can't just accept the only quote that we've got.
Okay. So at the moment, there is a proposal that the chain is changed. It's been seconded, and there is an amendment to that we look to see if we can find cheaper quotes. I would take that as an amendment. That's reasonable, isn't it? Would the proposer and the seconder be happy that is added into the proposal? Yeah, so you would second that part.
We get extra quotes.
There's an extra quote obtained before it's signed off, basically.
Should it be 3 quotes? It's very easy
3 quotes.
to do.
No. All right, so we've got a proposal by Councillor Lucas that we go ahead with New Regalia as per this design. It's been seconded by Councillor Buxton. There was a counter proposal put on that we get 2 additional quotes by Councillor Wadsworth, and that has been by Councillor Skipworth. You two look sensible. And that has been seconded and accepted by Councillor Buxton. So you make a note of that, won't you? So we're now looking for a vote on that, basically.
On mine.
On the proposal with the amendment.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So a show of hands. So this is where you're going to get 3 quotes, and then the work will go ahead. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What was that? 1, 2, 3, 7. 7 for that. All those against, show of hands. 1, 2, and all those abstaining.
Could I have it minuted, please? Because my
Council
was abolished by
Residents
residents after they bought Regalia.
And can you minute Councillor Brooks is against it?
Natural Garden City.
I know that. But, yeah.
Also, you're limited on companies that
I
can
know. But what it is that. So are we going to? 3 against. 3 against.
We have a councillor talking to the member of the public here.
Okay, thank you.
Can we stop?
Yes. Right, what it is, so the clerk will endeavour to get 3 quotes, and shall we bring it back in? Shall we see these 3 quotes in February?
If I can get 3 quotes.
Yeah, if we can get 3 quotes. But in essence, we've agreed to go ahead with.
I've got 10-3, missing somebody.
1 abstention.
Oh, abstention.
By Councillor Wadsworth.
So invited.
Oh, yeah, that was easy.
No, not particularly. Do you want to do that?
Right, we'll move on then when everybody's ready. We'll move on to item 8. Is everybody happy to move on?
Yeah.
Lovely, good. Make sure that everybody's happy to move on before we move on. Well, it wasn't my paper, so I'm sure flippancy isn't always appreciated by me. Right, agenda item number 8 then. This is trees for Royce's recreation ground, so I'll give the councillor that is this yours, Councillor Lucas. Would you like to present on this first, or should we go straight to questions?
I can't do any more than what's in front of you.
Oh, right, okay.
It is looking a bit tatty, and I've already had a lot of criticism from one councillor, but at least I'm trying my best.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, so looking for any comments or observations around the table on this, so we'll start with Councillor Brooks.
Yes, I'm the councillor who gave the criticism. Over the years, we've spent or budgeted thousands of pounds for tree work, and we have nothing done. But constantly, in this councillor's back garden, as we call it, Princess Avenue, we keep getting requests for new trees for Princess Avenue. Now, I'm not against trees, as Mrs. Lucas knows. I quite like trees and I will fight to keep a tree. But I don't see why we should keep paying for these replacement twigs as they are when I go down there. We can go to Uppingham Nursery and you can buy a tree that won't be vandalised. We're spending hundreds of pounds each year on vandalised saplings is the proper word for it, but they look like twigs and people break them. So we need to look at this properly. I don't even object to the trees going round, and I did say my criticism that residents, and it is true, residents have said it's a playing field and not a park. It's nice actually to see the trees around the edge. It's sad that they get broken, but I'm at the stage where I can't support this because we keep spending money, and I think we should look for bigger, more substantial trees that can be put in and not broken.
I think Councillor Ind wanted to say something.
Yes, yes. Yes, I think they're good trees to be put in, good autumn colour, but the previous one was stolen, or one of the previous. How do we guard against these being stolen?
Robin Hood.
And also installation £60. That seems an awful lot to dig a couple of holes and put the trees in, if that's what it is.
Okay.
Because delivery is already a separate item.
Thank you. Councillor Skipworth?
Yes. I'm not quite sure why gates have been chosen. Somebody who was it mentioned Uppingham, and I would also mention Manton, because I've seen beautiful trees there at cheaper prices than gates.
All my trees.
Thank you, Councillor Skipworth. Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Councillor Clough?
Is it worth explaining whether if we have a larger tree it will cost us significantly more money? And do we have other quotes for them other than the one from Gates?
So you mean buy a larger?
Well, if we're losing small trees because they're getting broken,
Get them when they're more established.
Would it be more, and it's being stolen? Would it be how much more expensive would it be to buy something slightly more?
Brilliant. No, okay, thank you. That's quite very constructive. Councillor Lucas, did you want to come back on that?
Can I just say that it's a well-known fact that to buy a larger tree, it's easier for the tree to be small and a tree, and it will grow, than having a big tree will take a lot more time for it to be established. Now, can I suggest also the quote of whatever it was, installation, that will include, I think I'm right, Clark, 2 stakes, 2 straps as well, and the tree root, the hole must be twice the size of the tree root. Have I made it plain? Is there anybody else who wants to ask a question? The tree wall.
It's plain. It's very plain. Councillor Denyer.
It's just a question. It's not necessarily about your report or these trees. I am in favour of trees going in, but I just wondered, because I don't know, do we ever allow people to plant a tree in memory of someone who's lived in Oakham? Because obviously they would be more caring of the tree. They probably hopefully, secure it more. But I just wondered if that's something that Oakham ever did.
Can I answer that, Chair?
You can do. I believe we have.
It's taken an awful long time over 3 trees. We selected these trees because they're small, right? Because we don't want big trees in Royce's recreational ground, because we already have one resident complaining that the trees are too big. And no, we don't put memorial trees in Royce's recreational ground. There are 5 or 6 in Cuts Close oak trees, memorial. I personally don't like memorial trees. I like trees planted for, not in memory of. You see what I mean? I have no objection to this tree is planted for do so, but not this tree is planted in memory of, because that will get vandalised as well.
Okay, so is everybody finished? Right, so did you want to say? No, right, okay. So we've got the paper in front of you. So some people have. There seems to be people who are in favour of trees, which is always a positive. But people have expressed concern about whether we should be using one particular garden centre against another. So, but anyway, so that's the paper in front of you. So, if everybody's finished speaking, does anybody would like to make a proposal in regard to this agenda item?
Yes, please.
Councillor Lucas. So the proposal is that the council agrees to replace 2 trees at Royce's recreation ground. The council instructs the clerk to purchase the trees, and the council authorises the expenditure of up to £150.
Are we not going to get any other quotes?
It's such a small amount, you wouldn't need extra quotes. I'm just wondering actually, is £150 going to be enough? Because if each tree is 70, is that 76 for the 2 or each?
Yes, for the 2.
Oh right, okay, right. I was just saying that's. Right, okay, I'm just 130. Right. So there's a proposal from Councillor Lucas that we go with what's on the agenda. Councillor Skipper.
Just another amendment that we actually look at the other garden centres, because I just think we shouldn't just focus on one garden centre, and particularly because it's not even in Rutland, that one.
Okay, so the proposal is from Councillor Lucas that we go with this having the 2 trees, and that the clerk, in that fact, because we don't need to get 3 quotes, but if she can find a Parotia, that's a style of tree, isn't it? I take it, or a breed of tree.
Yes.
That you can find that tree at another garden centre which is cheaper in Rutland.
Yes, Chairman, can I suggest that Rutland Garden Centre, whatever it's called.
There you go. So
that's
the clerk, you made it. If you ring around and see who does the best price on this style of tree. All right. But so the work goes ahead. The clerk will ring the garden centres as mentioned to see if the price can be bashed down. The delivery would be whatever it would be, as long as it doesn't exceed £150. That's what it says on here. Who's going to second that then? Councillor Buxton. All those in favour, show of hands, please.
Is this the amendment again?
Yes. We're going to. The clerk is going to ring. So we've got 10 with the hands raised. That's 10 in favour. Against 1. So that's.
Is it minutes in, Martin?
Do you want that minute in?
No, it's only because I'm annoyed they're vandalised all the time.
Okay, that's a good reason to. That's a good thing, yes. 9?
9.
Item 9 is.
People got that sent now.
Yes, I know, I've got it. Item 9 is the correspondence received, and the reason this is on the agenda is that in the past this council has sometimes been criticised for not discussing correspondence when it seems to be of a, I don't know, sensitive matter or contentious issue, although it should be. This letter was received, members of the public will probably not be aware of this, but we received a letter, it's in your pack, but basically we had a letter from a certain organisation asking if we could prevent the hunt from meeting in Oakham. Now, I did do a reply to this, by the way, which isn't copied here. All I did is I acknowledged the email from the person because it came through to myself, as you can see on there, and I acknowledged the receipt of the email and stated that we would be discussing it at our council meeting. I did point out that we do not have the authority because we do not own the land that the hunt meet on. But I thought we'd bring it to the council and see what the council said. One, it was mentioned to me, we've also had another piece of correspondence which came through yesterday. I don't know if everyone's got a copy of this. And this was addressed to the clerk. I'll read it out. Shall I read this out? I'll read it out. Please could you convey my personal opinion to the town council? I have not seen the letter, but from what I can gather, it is the same pro forma the League is sending to all town and village councils where a local hunt meets over the Xmas/New Year period, with the League wanting councils where they have the powers to ban hunts from meeting on land or public space they have authority over. I would respectfully ask the council to reject any request. These meets bring people and their families into Oakham on Boxing Day, where some families and their guests will go for refreshments and shop. There is also the collection taken by the hunt supporters for formerly Macmillan Nurses and now Rutland First. The amount collected is considerable and much needed. The hunt has been meeting on Boxing Day in Oakham for many years in a perfectly law-abiding manner and paying particular attention to public safety. Apart from this year, no protests by anti-hunt activists. This year, as in Uppingham on New Year's Day, there were protesters from Northants, Hertfordshire and elsewhere. As far as I could see or was told, no Rutlanders. So I would urge the council, should this request be debated, to reject it. It was, for the benefit of members of the public and also councillors not aware, the hunt used to meet at Cuts Close, which they've done for a number of years, but the council did withdraw that available meeting area based on the fact that it is an area where children play, and because the horses and some of the hounds would defecate in the area. So I'll start with, I'll go around the table on who wants to speak. I'll invite Councillor Lucas. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. It's not only Oakham that's had this letter, I can tell you South Wales has had it as well. It's the same letter, the same old tale. Just to put you right about why we stopped them or being on Cuts Close, it wasn't so much the hounds and the horses mess, it was the public pets who let them defecate all over the place, the pet dogs. And the boys or lads or whatever they're called didn't clean up after the pet dogs. They cleaned up after the hounds, they cleaned up after the horses, but they left all the rest. The suggestion was that we moved it all into Burley Road car park on hard standing, and for some reason they went into Rutland County Council offices. The only other thing that I can say about this is the land that they're meeting on now does not belong to us, and the owner of the land actually rides the hounds.
Thank you. So we've got Councillor Skipworth.
Another tradition, and I am appalled by the letter, because I have seen, because I was brought up in the country, I have seen what foxes do. They don't just kill, they just kill for the sake of killing. They kill all the chickens in a place, but they will take one away to eat, and they mutilate those. This is, I mean, I don't know, they didn't quote where this was happening, where this poor little fox was torn apart. It does not happen very much nowadays at all, if ever. And it's a rural thing, and I am absolutely appalled that these letters are going around the country. And it does bring people into Oakham. It's a Christmas, well, a Boxing Day tradition, and I think it would be appalling to stop it if it's bringing people into our town to spend money particularly, and it's colourful and it's good, and I just can't believe this letter at all. I'm appalled.
Thank you, Councillor Skipworth. Councillor Bottomley next, then I'll come to you.
And Peter as well, Adam.
As far as I'm aware, it's only scent marking that goes on anyway, scent drag, because obviously fox hunting is illegal. So I don't understand why they're getting a salon about this. If I had my way, I'd actually probably ban these and the hunt saboteurs if I had the chance. So I think they're far more dangerous than the actual hunt that comes through. It's a lovely spectacle to see, and they're not hurting anyone.
Thank you. Councillor Buxton?
Yeah, I'd say...
if you see, by the way, you can stay seated if it's easy.
Right. As long as they're complicit with the law, whatever view you take on hunting, I mean, they've got the perfect right to meet. It's probably the saboteurs that are likely to cause problems of people coming off orders, all sorts of things, rather than the hunt members. So I would vote to reject the letter myself.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brooks.
As a person who voted against it, and I will dispute what Councillor Lucas said, because she used to tell us that she went down afterwards and picked up the hound's mess. And that was one of the reasons why I voted against it. We might have to dig out the video. I also voted because they had a live tethered eagle. But since voting for it, I found on the last 2 years or so, maybe 3 years, I've actually been intimidated because I have a camera and they know who I am. Now, I don't publish anything about the hunt which is negative. I run a Facebook page which actually shows it and shows all my pictures, but I find the people very intimidating and it's not enjoyable. I keep my distance from them. And you haven't seen how they come up to me. We know who you are, we know where you live.
But don't go.
What? So you're telling me that I shouldn't go to an event?
Right, Councillor Brooks.
Sorry, I know, but I shouldn't go to an event which is there for public enjoyment over the Christmas period. Follow that. Right. But anyway, I'm pleased with what our chairman has responded, but I don't think we need to respond to it because we are not the authority who deals with highways. I've spoken to Joe Lloyd, PC Joe Lloyd, who's not happy with how they meet. They had a steward, which I photographed this year, who stood in the high street with the hounds running out into traffic, smoking and stewarding. You know, they don't steward properly. Okay. And there were protesters there this year. We are lucky that they didn't turn nasty like they did in other areas not far. And for anyone to turn around and say no one's harmed, let them say that to the police officer who suffered head injuries and was beaten to a pulp by a Leicestershire hunt, who was what they called the animal welfare officer. How many times was the Cottesmore hunt being prosecuted for breaking the law? We don't have to go into that, but you know, it's a very sensitive issue. We got rid of the problem. It's not our problem, and they should be told that it's nothing to do with us.
Thank you. Councillor Ind, and then Councillor Romney.
Yes, thank you. Chairman, I'm glad you brought this to the meeting because I think we should have a policy. I think we should make a statement because 2 or 3 years ago, I don't think we came out of this very well. It looked as though we were being very negative.
Yes.
We've got two diverse points of view here. We've got the letter on the one hand and the email which you sent and we read, the other point of view. I think it's a good tradition. People go to Uppingham and watch the hunt meet in the market square. They come here. So it's a tradition, a spectacle. However, I'm totally against the hunting itself, and I think most people are. But there's a middle ground, and I would suggest that we make a statement that we're in support, but not of the hunting.
No, right, okay, thank you, Councillor Ryan. I'll summarise in a moment. So, Councillor Romney.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I mean, really, until we vote again or we change our policy, we've already decided not to allow the hunt to meet in Cuts Close, which is the land that we own. If they meet elsewhere in Oakham, that is not within our jurisdiction, and I would just move that we note the letter.
Okay, Councillor Clough. Not yet.
I would just like to say this is a letter to the council. It's not a reasoned, justified letter, it's a diatribe, but a lot of unsubstantiated facts. There's a lot of misunderstandings, there's a lot of intolerance on both sides. There are people who do approve of hunting, there's people who don't. It's a countryside pursuit. This is a countryside area. The voting against hunting is mainly by people who live in towns who don't understand the countryside, and people who live in the countryside are smaller numbers. So of course, here in Rutland, it's a good tradition. If people don't wish to go and see the hounds, they're not being dragged down to the town to see it. So it's a choice for people to make. I see there's no reason why this tradition shouldn't continue. I don't even think, like Councillor Romney, that it particularly needs an answer.
Okay, right. Right. Nobody else wants to speak, do they? Because then I'll go. Right, okay, so I'll just summarise the fine points then. Yeah. So we received the correspondence. It's already been acknowledged to them that we don't have control over it. I did say to this league that sent in the original document, the original email. There they are. They're hiding, you see, under that piece of paper. That I would give them the response of the town council if there was one. So there's 2 members of the council who don't feel that there is a response needed. There will be, unfortunately, an expected response not only by the league, but also the media are aware of this documentation, and whereas Councillor Hind has already indicated we didn't come out of it well in 2013 or 12, whenever it was. I will highlight the points that the Cottesmore hunt are not in question here because there are laws in place about hunting of animals in whatever format it needs to be done, and I am unaware of any incident in Rutland, and I'm not here to debate that. We're not here to debate that at all. So I'm not aware of any instance of anybody breaking any laws. I'm also not aware of the League breaking any laws. So that's the equal playing field that we should be standing on. I believe that we should be doing a response to the League saying that we have received their letter, and the council position is that we do not control the land, so we are not in a position to dictate one way or the other, and to reiterate that as far as we're concerned there have been no instances, no breaking of the laws, and we consider the matter closed, rather than try and open up any kind of a debate over what is right and wrong.
Chairman, I don't think we should make any comments that there hasn't been any breaking of the law when we don't know.
Well,
we can Google and find the newspaper articles.
Well, we could do. Well, anyway, so all right, we'll write and acknowledge that that basically we've acknowledged it. The council have discussed it, and because we have no powers over this land. Alternatively, of course, is that the council might choose to reinstate letting the hunt use the cuts close again. But I might bring that as a paper if I'm still on the council in May in the new year, because it's something that this council should be not making those decisions on leading up to May, and certainly not this evening. So other council, I'm making a proposal from the chair that the chairman responds to the League saying we've acknowledged your email. The council have made a decision that because we do not have responsibility for the land, we have no say on where the hunt meet. Councillor Wadsworth.
I'll second it.
That's it. Yes. Anybody? Are we going to vote on that? Show of hands then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, in favour. All those against? 2. Okay. And then if I'm still here in May, then I'll bring a paper that we allow the hunt to use the land again. And that's no, we'll do it as an exempt item. I'll just add a little footnote there for the benefit of I know some of the councillors were not happy with that decision, and just at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we accommodate everybody in the best way without bringing up an old issue. Okay. Where are we on to? Are we on to item 10? Right. Okay. Service contract for hand. This right. This is a pretty self-explanatory thing. I will say that we had this when this came up. Was it last year or the year before?
Yeah, every year I bring it.
It's every year. Not unfortunately, the facilities that we have in the public toilets on Church Street, there's a specific one where it's a hand wash basin with a blower integrated in it, and Walgate manufacture that, which is why it's Walgate are the only ones that are in the ballpark for doing it. Most other people won't quote for this because it's theirs.
And a special soap as well.
And a special soap. So I'll open this up to people to discuss. Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, we've been stuck with this now for I think 10 years, and the toilets were opened by our mayor, Jan Furzum, in 2009. I did a bit of Amazon shopping looking this afternoon, and I can buy a lovely Dyson, fantastic thing for the price of one of those service charges. And I've said this before, 10 years on we should be looking at the fact that we've paid for those hand washes 10 times over, and we should be looking at maybe redoing, because I know from comments which we brought to council at one point how they're not always working at their best. We don't get any evidence that they are actually serviced twice a year. I'm not even sure they are really using the correct soap in it, if they put any in it at all, because I went with a cleaner once and that was the problem, there was no soap in it. And I've seen inside these machines, I'm not the most technical person, but there is nothing to service. It's a little motor and a few little pipes. And the hot water's heated somewhere else and comes through. And to be honest, yes, they would probably. It's probably one of the most simple extended warranties, as I would call it, that I've ever seen. And it does say that they might replace things, but there's a get-out clauses if it's vandalised or whatever. But I think the time has come, which they're quite clear on. We don't have to renew this. And we can have electrical testing done in the meantime. It can be pat tested, I think is the correct word, which if you sent someone in, Dave would know this because he's an electrical man, if you sent someone in to look at 5 heaters, dryers, whatever they're called, in the toilets, you wouldn't be paying that sort of figure for each thing. I think when they come to the office to pat test everything, the bill's only about 100 and something pounds.
Right.
So anyway, that's
you.
my opinion.
Councillor
I think we
Ind.
should do it.
Yeah, I get the impression you didn't like it. Councillor Ind.
I never have.
Did you want to say something on this?
No.
Oh, big one. I'm misleading you. He's on my blind side. Councillor Bottomley.
I think one of the reasons why this needs to be, as long as you know, it's a matter of law, everything has to be tested every certain time, it's fair enough. The actual bit of kit itself is a very sturdy bit of kit when you look at a lot of stuff that's out there, plus it's sanitary as well. When you see those Dyson ones, I mean, they're terrible and the wee goes everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I had to get that joke out there because I love it. Right, but to be perfectly honest, I don't see a drama with this. It's sturdy, it does the job well, and there's not a lot to go wrong. Then it's a matter of law, we have to get things tested.
Okay.
I think we're using the wrong
And
people.
anybody else?
Yes.
Councillor Skipworth.
Just to disagree, perhaps the men's ones are better than the ladies' ones because it doesn't work properly most of the time. It certainly doesn't dry your hands. Sometimes the water comes before the soap, sometimes the water doesn't come at all, and you're left with gungy hands, and that's it.
Okay, right. No, sorry, you don't need
That's
to.
brilliant.
All right. Councillor Lucas.
I'm fed up of standing up.
No, that's.
Sorry.
Are we way with that
I've
order?
heard such a load of rubbish tonight. The Dyson ones I have seen, they're in public toilets, but they're not in public toilets like the ones here. That I was going to name one actually, but I won't.
Good.
But these are vandal-proof ones. Let's face it, anybody can get in there, and the kids or yous or drunks, we've got to have something quite sturdy.
They're
End
designed
of
for
story.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks.
Up today.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lucas. Is that your? It sounds like you're forward.
That's it.
So to clarify a few points that were brought up there. First of all, yes, they are meant to be vandal-proof.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can, I don't know, get some videos or Google that later. And also, yes, Councillor Botany pointed out correctly, unfortunately there is a 12-month testing that has to be done on, what's it called? PAT testing it's called. So in fact, by law it has to be tested every year, unfortunately, Councillor Brooks. So that.
But this is not a testing, this is a service contract.
Yes, well it's service and tested at the same time.
If we went to the same people...
Right, I wasn't inviting you to speak,
no,
actually.
I'm making a proposal, can I, please?
Oh, yes, please
can
do.
I make a proposal...
If you'd like to stand, you can.
Yes, make a proposal that we do not renew this contract. Okay. Because it's a guaranteed extended warranty. We've paid them thousands of pounds over the last 10 years.
Is that the proposal?
Yes,
and the
so.
clerk speaks to the electricians, which I think is Ledbetter Hicks, who do the PAT testing for a few £100 for everything in the office every year. And you would
point of order, Chairman. He's had his say.
No, but that's what I'm trying to explain. My proposal is that the clerk finds out how much it will cost to include it with all the overall PAT testing that we do.
I've captured it. So there's a proposal from Councillor Brooks.
But we don't renew this.
I can speak.
Sorry, I'm just trying to clarify.
All right, okay. Carry on then, I'll have a rest.
Sorry.
So there's been... Are you going up? You're going up. Keep going. No. Well, I was going to summarise it, because the Chairman is allowed to do that. So Councillor Brooks... You can sit down if you like, Councillor Brooks. Councillor Brooks has proposed that we do not go ahead with this contract and that the clerk approaches Ledbetter and Hicks and asks them if they can PAT test it.
Yeah, which is all we need.
No, so I did that in less than half a minute.
Oh, that was so
Right, that was the proposal. So if anybody wants to say anything, so Councillor Denyer.
I can see the point you're making, Martin, about the safety. What my concern is, if you come out of the contract, we've already been told they use special soap, So where do we go from
Well, we
there?
can still buy that. Sorry,
Okay.
Chairman, if I can speak. We buy that
Are we
separately.
listening to the council?
Yeah, no, that's right. Okay, right. So
Would we in fact,
Yeah.
would we in fact have to look for another contractor to do the additional work apart from the back testing?
We'll have to
Yes, we
start to look
will.
at that as
Yeah,
well,
we
so.
will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's a good point. Well, Ray, did you want to say something?
Yes, if I may, Chairman. Yeah,
Yeah, do.
there is a big difference between pack testing, because pack testing is portable appliances.
Yeah.
This is a fixed appliance because it's screwed into the wall.
Right.
But this is not just the fixed appliance testing. This is the maintenance of the unit, which are very complicated units. If you, I mean, I know I've installed one or two of them, and well, wind them up, I don't install them, but they are very complicated with the solenoids and valves and so on and so forth. If they're not working, if we don't tell them, they won't come and repair it. It does say in here, repair costs are covered. So every time it breaks down, we just ring them up and get them to come out and repair it.
We've done that
So,
already.
so if we know they're not working, we'll get them repaired. If you want to change the contract, or you want to look at somebody else to provide that service, which means that they'll have to provide their own unit, then at this late stage, you've got a month to find a new supplier, have it installed. Either that or you close the toilets, because you can't have public toilets without hot water. So your options are, A, we renew this for this year, and we look at a alternative ready for the contract ending next year, or you try and find somebody who will service and maintain somebody else's unit, which I doubt you will, because you can only buy the spares from the one manufacturer.
Okay.
The frustrating thing about that is that we said exactly the same last year.
Okay.
And then we're bringing it this year, and that's why.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, what it is, Councillor Brooks has put a proposal on the table that you heard it, that we don't renew the contract and we go to Live Better and Hicks, and also the clerk could look at other things.
But it's also using a low.
No, I've got it. So that was a proposal. Does anybody would like to second that? Okay, that has failed. That has fallen, not failed. It has fallen. Is there any other proposals then? Oh, Councillor Clark.
I'd like to propose that we accept the contract for this year, and if anybody is singularly unhappy with the fittings that we have, I would like to research what other public toilets have and explore the costs and the running costs with other authorities. They could bring a paper to the council for us to consider in plenty of time for us to consider this for next year.
Okay. This was originally for 5 years, wasn't it?
Was it 5? Sorry, is it 5 years?
It's for 1 year, 5 units.
Oh, right, okay, right, disregard me. Right, okay.
1 year for 5 units.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay, big part right there. Okay, right. So thank you very much. So thank you, Councillor Clough. So proposing that we do this next year, then go and start looking around.
No, that we ask any councillor who is unhappy with the current arrangements to look at it.
And bring a paper back.
Bring a paper
All right. Okay. So that's a proposal. Basically, we renew it for a
Can
year.
I make an amendment that it's the office, because that's the office's job to do it, and that's what was asked last year.
Well, did you want the office to do it, or did you want the councillors? If a councillor wants to bring this paper, they have to.
I think that if a councillor wants to bring a paper, I think a councillor should bring a
Well,
paper.
Anne knows they don't work, so
Right.
she can do it.
I'm not
So-
going on public toilets.
So seconded by Councillor Lucas.
Yeah.
All those in favour that the contract is renewed, show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and against 2. Did you want that minuting?
No.
I must say it's £110,000 well spent.
Thank you. Right, item 11. We're ready to. Thank you. Item 11 is Personal Advice and Solutions Limited to authorise the continuation of the current agreement for a further 6 months. We do this in 6-month blocks, and what it is, HR Advice Solutions give us HR advice as and when we need it. It costs £100 a month.
Nothing here, isn't
No, it's just what it is. We've been using them for about 3 years now, and £100 a month. If we have a problem, let's say, for instance, I'm not going to give any for instances. It's £100 a month. We have used it. It is good. Yeah, I'll charge a lot more personally. Right. Anybody want to make any comments on this? Councillor Ryan.
Yes. Well, I propose we continue. We've had very good value over the 3 years. If we did it independently, we'd be paying a lot more. You're talking a very high hourly rate if you want this sort of advice.
Okay, if there's no other comments, I've got a proposal by Councillor Ryan and secondly by Councillor Skipworth. Does anybody want to make any comments before we vote? No. Show of hands in favour, please. That's unanimous. Yeah. Item 12 then, this is a request to use Cuts Close. We'll take them singularly, I guess. To consider a request to grant permission for Hollands, 30th of April to the 6th of May and the 11th of August to 17th of August. So, Councillor Wadsworth.
Yeah, can I just say, if we're going to propose it, can we put a note on it that they cannot set up until after 2:30?
Yeah, no, they know that.
Because we had a bit of an issue last year.
Yeah,
and sitting there waiting to get in.
Good point, well done. Yes, thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, this is another thing. We can go back to Alf Dewis's time as chairman. We put through approvals in that year on the basis that we were going to review the use of Cuts Close, not to stop it, but review it. So we had proper things like what's just been raised then, proper policies and procedures for it. And Alf was there in 2013, wasn't he? Something like that. We're now in 2012. We're now in 2019. So you can understand my frustration that every time something comes up and we're told it's going to be reviewed, but we'll shove it through this time. It's not people sitting around here now, so I'm not. It's the council. I'm not thinking that you weren't here then.
If I can get
but I want to change so that we've got proper things like when they say, "Oh, we can use your electricity," but actually there's nothing to say they can use it. You know?
Okay, Councillor Bottomley.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
I brought this up a few months, just before the summer. Obviously, everything was still sort of within contract boundaries and that sort of thing. But regarding things like the ice cream van and things,
that's the second one. We're not talking about fair.
Regarding the fair and
things,
things happening. I believe we take a flat rate of £30 per day. That was what it was.
We take it's for a fair and a circus. It's £100 a day, or they pay £115 if they have the water and electricity.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm not quite sure where I stand. Shall I wait until the end and speak again, or?
Yeah. Well, you can speak at 12:2 and 12:3. No, you're not doing it right.
Can you just say it again?
It's £100 or £115 if they have the electricity and water.
Does that cover it?
Yeah, the electricity in the Cuts Close is very is tiny, absolutely tiny.
Yes, it does.
It is.
So just to clarify a point on there, Councillor Brooks said that we do this and things and we need to do this properly. But in actual fact, on the back of when Councillor Dewis was the chairman, the council did bring in a policy where they actually have a contract that the people that use the park now, they have to complete the contract and assign to it, and also there's a risk assessment form.
Risk assessment and insurance.
So in that fact, there are documents in place to make sure that we're as much covered as we can do. Now we can, on the back of what Councillor Brooks has said there, we could always ask the Policy and Procedures Working Group to review that, which they're going to be doing a meeting in the near future.
I'll give you a contract.
You can review the contracts and see if there's anything there. But in the meantime, then we're looking for a proposal that this dates are acceptable, bearing in mind what Councillor Wadsworth said about times.
Yeah. So it doesn't coincide with any of the
So I'm going to do these individually. So. Proposed, anybody want to propose? Proposed by Councillor Skipworth that the fair can come on those dates. Seconded by Councillor Clough.
After 2:30.
After 2:30, yes, where the dentist has been. Seconded by Councillor Clough. Show of hands all in favour. Oh, that's unanimous, right, okay. Yes, it was, yes, unanimous.
Are you happy about the ice cream then?
Yeah, just going to extend that one. Okay.
12.2 is to consider a request to grant permission for an ice cream vendor, Mr. Whippy, soft ice cream, to be parked in Cuts Close on Sunday the 23rd of June 2019 until Sunday the 11th That's the Sundays. It's not all 5 days of the week.
So
just for clarity.
Does he say?
He does. I'll come round. He pays
£25.
£25 a day when he comes in, and he pays normally in advance, doesn't he?
Does,
So,
and he has a contract.
and he has a contract. Councillor Brooks, and then I'll come round to Councillor Wood.
Just as we're still on this subject of cuts close, just quickly, why I said about the policies and things, some of us may remember what happened with the circus last year, where we lost money because of how they blocked public right of way, and we had to go out and pay hundreds of pounds for a new plastic path to go through, and that's what we're hoping to avoid. On the ice cream man, I think we shouldn't just give it to somebody because they have it. It's quite competitive. We get a man who parks outside, but also last year I noticed that because he pays for Sunday, he felt that give him the right to go in on a Saturday or any sunny day that he felt that he could. And I think that if we're charging, then he should have been billed for that.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
but he wasn't. He was just allowed to carry on.
Councillor Wadsworth, you wanted to say something on this, didn't you?
Yeah, just
Can you have a
want
float?
to extend the dates. We've got Sunday the 11th. Can we make it Sunday the 18th? That's an extra day on that, please.
All right. Is Mr. Whippy happy with that?
Mr. Whippy will be happy with that.
No, he will be.
He will be, yes.
An extra
We've got to
day.
whip that for
So
him.
what, the 18th?
Councillor Bottomley.
Yeah, no, because I've not done a band.
I'll try this one again.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've got it in the right place. I feel like we're getting our eyes ripped out here by asking for, say, £25 here and, say, £150. I mean, they're raking in a hell of a lot of money out of this, excuse my language, and we should be taking a percentage of the gross instead of the flat rate. That way, if they do better, we do better. All the money's getting put back in. We can use that money for other things. Upkeep as well.
So you recommending a review of rates? I would put that to the Policies and Procedures Working Group.
Not so much a review of the rates, but actually change the contracts. I'll make sure. I'll speak to yourself.
Good point. No, thank you very much. Councillor Lucas.
That would be very difficult to police because they've got to be honest how much they've made.
Right, okay.
That would be very difficult to police.
Okay, is this a point of order you're raising, or is it?
About the ice cream man.
I'll allow you to come back, Councillor Wadsworth. Is it a salient point? Because normally you do bring value to the meeting, so I would allow you to speak a second. Well, she doesn't very often do it, so it's nice to hear Councillor Wadsworth.
I'm not doing it now because I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Oh, I do apologise. If it comes back to you in the meantime,
yes, I have. Sorry.
Go on then.
Can I just?
Please do.
Just talking about this £25 for the ice cream man. He pays it in advance, and he doesn't always turn up on every Sunday, but we still get the money for it.
Can I say something as well, Chairman?
Actually,
Yes, right, okay, hang on a minute, I'm just consulting.
Martin raised the issue about other ice cream mans, but we've had hassle with other ice cream mans in the past.
Right, I just want to, what it is, I'm just going to say, Councillor Lucas.
just to make a comment that he can't now get in on a Saturday because of the gate.
Right, I was going to say that.
All right.
One of the reasons that I brought the paper last year about putting the gate on was to try and control traffic coming on. On saying that, it has been noticed, and he was challenged about it last year about coming over the curb off the car park. Because in that fact, I will be bringing. I know it's shocking.
We had the wedding reception as well, didn't we?
Yes, we did have wedding reception. Yes, it's been 35 years this year. Anyway, so what it is, I won't do it again. I will be bringing a paper at some point where we actually put in some kind of traffic control as well on that bottom piece to stop vehicles driving on. But so I'm looking for a proposer to accept Mr. Whippy with the extended date to the 18th, proposed by Councillor Wadsworth, seconded by Councillor Skipworth. All those in favour? That's unanimous. And then 12.3 is to consider a request to grant permission for Rutland Concert Band to use Cuts Close Bandstand Pyrotechnics for their 1812 overture.
I propose that. Yes.
Can I ask a question, because I'm asked this?
Yeah, shoot.
Who actually runs it? Because we're told it's the festival.
Rutland Concert Band.
Rutland Concert Band.
It is, because it's the... we don't know who runs it.
Rutland Concert Band.
I'm just curious, because people ask me.
Tell them it's Rutland Concert Band.
They are just running it themselves.
Yes, yeah. Right, so it's been proposed by Councillor Skipworth, seconded by Councillor Buxton. If there was no other comments, for a show of hands to...
Do they have insurance?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
Everybody that uses Part, you want it, that's the, is that unanimous? That's unanimous?
We'll just go
Are you guys off?
Councillor Clough, everybody that uses the cuts close has to fill the same form. Other than Sally.
Yeah. Thank you, good night.
Also, Sally Ann as well, Mr. Whippy, the other ice cream man we had, the amount of hassle we had from him, where's Mr. Whippy?
That's what I'm thinking of. Or wooden, solid wooden strip.
Right. That's sensible, so the other one.
There was another one that we had.
You're right,
Right, what we're going to do is we've got item 13, which is we've got 3 planning applications, which is just coming up on the screen. No, it's just brightening up, it's warming up.
All right.
It's like Alice, it takes a little while to get going.
All right.
We're all like that.
So we'll take 13.1, which is the surname Mr. and Mrs. Wainwright. Single story rear extension and alterations to existing garage, 10 Gunthorpe Close. Is that the existing?
Yeah, that's existing.
Brilliant. Now, in actual, I mean, obviously David will know all about this being the planning chairman.
Oh, you took it over there, you get on with it.
That's the extension. I don't believe there's been no objections.
It's
that I'm
quite a
aware
big
of.
plot there.
It is quite a big plot, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, is there any comments or observations? I mean, once again, at least it's not a flat roof. It is, you know. So I do like. I'm not a fan of flat roofs, even though it's cost effective.
Yeah.
They are losing their garage, but they do have parking for 2 cars at the front and a space you can't get a car in a garage most days these days anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Any other comments? So it's been proposed by Councillor Lucas, seconded by Councillor Clough. All those in favour? That there's no objections from the Town Council. That's unanimous then. And so 13.2 is the surname Mr. S. Murray. Change of use from 2 number cottages to commercial shop on 1820 Jail Street. It's coming up, doesn't it? Councillor Wadsworth, he's got a comment to make on this.
Yeah, I don't think we should support it. Simply because there is enough shops in Oakham that are empty. We don't need 2 more that are sitting there empty.
On Jail Street.
There are also 2 small rented properties which are like gold dust. And I don't think we should be allowing them to take 2 more properties away from the rental.
2 housing into the thing. Right, okay, Councillor Clough.
Yes, I would agree with the
Cancel these comments, please.
This is conservation area. These are 2 remaining small Victorian houses. We are looking for affordable houses for young people and for single people, and these are 2 affordable houses. When there was land that was otherwise being developed opposite in Jail Street, these were not developed as commercial units. These were developed as rather ugly modern housing. So if we were going, the planning department was going to allow modern ugly housing opposite when it could have gone commercial, why would they now want to take 2 affordable small Victorian houses from a conservation area and turn them now into shops? It would mean taking out the windows, so they would lose the look. The one next door, this is a block of 3, the one next door has already been done.
Yes.
All the frontage has been taken out. I think it would be a tragedy to lose them.
Yes.
I would also like to say that we do have empty premises. A landlord, there's no guarantee that this landlord would find a tenant for this small shop, and having found a tenant, that the rent wouldn't go up to such an extent that they have to leave, and then a new tenant comes in, and then he's put the rent up again. So, you know, given the overall picture, I would definitely not support this option.
Brilliant. Okay, Councillor Denyer.
I don't support it either. I think that when you walk down, is it Jail Street?
Jail Street.
Yes. It's gradually losing the feeling of what it originally was, and to take another 2 out doesn't leave much. I know that there are some flats on the right hand side as you walk up, not far from Hampton Bakery. And I just feel that it's a little area of Oakham that should remain as far as possible as it always was. And another 2 shops, it's going to just feel like an alley of shops. And if they remain empty, or if what goes in them isn't what necessarily people want to go into, and I'm finding a lot of the shops are either charity shops or shops that aren't frequented much, it's just going to just lose the feel.
Okay. Councillor Brooks?
Yeah, I echo a lot of what's being said, and that road has a lot of interest to me because, as I pointed out when I complimented Councillor Clough a couple of weeks ago, the two which have Hamilton Bakery and the kitchen shop in, I was horrified when this town council 10 years ago said, well, what do you want us to do about it? And I contacted the Rutland and Leicestershire Victorian Society, and they said exactly the same thing. I see those very similar to where the property's same landlord owned and now the business owns, and the two losses on the corner. It's all part of what was a lovely Victorian brick buildings, which are affordable housing. We have issue with affordable housing, whether it's rented or bought. Those houses are never empty. They might be short-term lets, but it gives families and sometimes single people somewhere to live in the town. And I'm concerned, can we object to this? Because when I objected on the basis that, as it's been said tonight, we want shops that people go to, was Church Street. I strongly objected to the conversion of the wine bar into an optician's, which is a waste to me, that size building. And I was told the European law doesn't permit you to say that. So planning's difficult. So if we object, are they just going to say there's a European law saying we can't do that? But I would object to this on the basis, if we're allowed, that it's a loss of affordable housing in the town centre. We don't have to mention it's rentable or...
No, right. Okay, so does anybody else want to comment?
Yes.
Pete, Councillor Rhymes?
Yes, just support what has been said, and I take the point there. We've got to watch. Some of what is being commented on isn't strictly planning, but I think if we talk about the street scene, put it in those sort of terms, loss of amenity, because this is quite unusual. Usually the shops close and go the other way.
Yeah.
This is a reversal.
Yeah.
So I think the phraseology needs to be right. Otherwise it could fall on...
Well, we've got that it is a conservation area.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
There'd be, so you describe it as a loss of amenity because we're losing these affordable housing,
They are
period housing, affordable period housing.
Scene.
The street scene would be impacted,
and they say loss of territory.
And potential loss of heritage. Fine, it's all great. And obviously, I'm aware that the kitchen shop on the left, a bit further up on the left, as we're walking up from South Street, that the guy there has Adam his name, isn't it? I don't know quite well. He's very good at what he does. He's moving to other premises. He does very well. So in theory, there's already one potential empty unit there. So anyway, so is there a proposal to Councillor Buxton?
Yeah, I'm just going to say an inquiry really. Is there any provision for if shops move, their owners move, to reinstate the look of the place, and let it for housing?
Oh yeah, I mean this. Yes, that has happened. In actual fact, I mean there's some. In actual fact, the pub on Northcote Street, the Griffin. It still looks like a pub.
It's still a pub, yeah.
But there's people sleeping in the bath. Or maybe that was just me 20 years ago. So anyway, so we're looking for. So somebody wants to propose that it's rejected on the grounds that have been made. So proposed by Councillor Clough, seconded by Councillor Wadsworth. All those in favour that it's rejected on the reasons given. Show of hands. That appears to be unanimous.
And can we ask where the conservation officer is?
We don't need to. I'm sure the conservation officer is all over this. Utmost confidence.
Right, 3 has been...
13.3 has been withdrawn. So
it hasn't.
No, it's not. It's 13.4. So yeah, we're going to discuss the. It is 13.3 that we're going to go on to next.
Yeah.
Which is Rutland County Council Regulation 3, application for change of use of first floor duals from residential to office use.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
So Councillor Clough.
Can we see the pictures?
So Councillor Clough is can talk about
Can I talk about this one, please?
Please.
In 1991, we lost a young lady in Oakham called Jules Waite.
Yes.
And it was very tragic, it was sort of unexpected, and it was found in her room, a piece of paper describing a youth club, right down to the fire exits. Everything she wanted to do, she was writing a letter to the county council. And after she died, her parents and her friends got together, and they found a premises, and they started a youth club, and it was called Jules.
Yes.
And the youth club was is at the back of the original youth club was at the back of where the Rutland Radio building is. It's that which is now a dentist. I've met my Hitchcats met there for very years. For 3 or 4 years.
Where are we looking at?
No,
It's not on there.
Just history first. The building got to be in quite full repair, although it was still being used.
Yeah.
And the trustees were approached by RCC, who asked the trustees would they consider selling the Jules building that they owned, where the youth club was, and the profits to go into a larger project which would accommodate a 5-bedroom supported unit for homeless young people. This new project, which was hopefully going to be completed by 2014, was to be situated where the Pinewood Hostel is, which is the building we are now talking about. The Jules name would be retained. The project would be manned by qualified staff 7 days a week, with staff on site overnight. There will be a youth club running in the evenings for 2 or 3 evenings per week. That was the basis on which the Jules building belonging to the Jules Youth Club was sold, and that's where the money went. Now, the building itself now, upstairs, has been accommodation, but not for young people. It's been accommodation for another purpose at the county council. A perfectly valid use, but not the use for young people, for a number of years. And in that building, we have absolutely superb joined-up services for young people. Everything that relates to young people is operated from a big office there, and they do a superb job. And they have a big room with a pool table in it, and they have a garden with benches in it, and they run one drop-in centre from 5:30 to 7:30 one night a week.
Yeah.
So what I am saying to the town council is, where is the promise that something for young people of Oakham was going to come with this building with the money from Jules? They now wish to turn the upstairs accommodation, now maybe into office space. Now maybe we do need more office space for the youth services. I'm not contesting that. But there was a promise made to the young people of Oakham that the money from Jules would go into this building to provide services for them. Drop-in services, youth clubs, and this is not being provided. At this point, while we're answering this response, I think we should be asking what were the terms on which they took the money from the Jules trustees, and where is the promise that they are meeting, that if they wish us to agree that they can turn the upstairs accommodation into offices, what are they going to offer in compensation to the young people of Oakham to justify the fact that they have the money?
The whole building is going to be offices, apparently,
It's not planning.
There will still be a big meeting room.
Yeah,
Which could
I'm based on that. I mean, we are unfortunately only considering it as a planning application. We can reject the planning application, and then the council can then move to another stage, probably at the next meeting, challenge. We can incorporate those words that Councillor Clough has made, is to, there is other reasons. There's a reason why it's been rejected, and it needs to be, based on what you've just reported there.
You can Google this and you can find it on the internet. It's called the Jules story, and it will tell you the story of the whole process. And what was promised is in here.
Councillor Brooks.
I've got to be careful because we are on a planning thing, as I've heard mumbled, but I think we should go down the route as a town council and raise our concern perhaps at the next meeting. Maybe Joy could do a paper to bring it to say, can we support find out what's going on, because I think in hindsight the family should not have sold the property, the original one. I would like to know if we were to approve, I'm not saying we are, or what is going to happen now for those youth, because they're not going to have any there, and it's such a short period of time. But these things happen, and that's why I say in hindsight the family shouldn't have sold the property, because we're now looking.
All right, I'll come back to you in a minute.
You can look at the almshouses in Peterborough, Miss Pears. They were sold, turned into a Pizza Express. They've been empty for 3 years now. So once you give up, you have no control.
Right.
But I think as a council, we should at the next meeting, maybe Joy could also find out what their plans are.
Right, okay, Councillor Lucas.
I would like to get back quickly to the planning bit and actually say, they don't tell us what they want the offices for, that would be helpful.
It's all youth services now.
It seems odd when they have a lot of space in Catmas.
And I said do that separately.
I don't think it's an appropriate
Because I'm going to get Sarah tomorrow to email the planning and the others. But that one we can do.
Right, we've got it. Councillor Lucas.
I just would like to say thank you to Councillor Clough for bringing it to the attention of the people, the history of this place. I would be appalled if I thought that the next job would be to change the name, because that would upset us.
There's an erosion going off, isn't there?
Yeah. No, it needs to be said, because around this table there are very few who have lived through the history of this building and the building before. Can I just say that I have been in the building recently because of another organisation I belong to, and when you go in, it's like a palace, isn't it? The office space and the amount of money they've put in there, and now it's beyond belief.
I'll just Councillor Bottomley, and then I'll come over to you, back to you, John. Councillor Bottomley.
I feel like we're getting quite emotional on this. You know, I spent a lot of time in the original Jules Brennan to the other place. But can we just try and stick to the actual, the process of what we're doing now? If we are going to chin this off, we're going to chin it off. But let's not make anything else on it before we start spilling out into everything else and people start questioning our decisions for ulterior motives.
Right, Councillor, thank you. Come back.
Can I just say that I think the reason that the upstairs wasn't used for young people is because legislation has changed and young people who are in care are allowed to be in care for up to 25, whereas it used to be 18, and that's why the fee was. So I have no objection to it being made into office space, but because this is in front of us now, I thought we should make the council aware of this, because maybe we as Town Council should be making a stand and saying, yes, we're happy for you to have office space up there, you do a wonderful job, but what are you going to do to meet the requirements of the donation that you received for the young people? Because it's the facilities for the young people that are being eroded here.
Right, we have to feed our comments back to Rutland County Council by February the 8th, I believe it is. That we are only a consultee, so in other words, they will make their decision regardless sometimes of what we say. I'm not saying that in a negative way. So are we looking at a proposal to reject this, or we're looking for a proposal to accept it but include your document there perhaps?
Yes, one could give a copy of it with it, but I think I'm proposing that we accept the planning application, but that we take up the cudgels on behalf of the young people to say, what you have, if you're going to take this as office space, how are you going to meet the requirements?
Okay, right, Councillor Ines?
Yes, I agree with that approach, but I think we should do it in tandem. I think, one, we look at the planning, but maybe the clerk or our county council representative, have we got one? I thought we had. can look to see whether there was some sort of covenant or agreement, you know, when there was this change. And I think it's, you know, we're the right organisation to do it, because, as has been mentioned, and as we've heard, we know the history. Maybe at the county council they don't know this, or maybe it's been lost.
Okay,
you know?
brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Denia.
Thank you for the history. I just wonder, are the families still alive?
Yes.
Well, yes. You know, what involvement do they have with the building? Have they continued a contact with the building and what's happening there? And have they in fact knowledge of it and know the different things that are going to happen? We don't know that. And if we're going to start taking up a stand on it, do you not think that we should start by looking at what the people who had the contract, who've sold, who are involved, know about it before we do anything else? Because it could be offensive, couldn't we?
Yep, all right. Councillor Skipworth?
Yeah. I would think that we don't want to accept it until we know more about it, and we've got reasons to not know anything about it, so I would propose that we don't accept it until we find out all these things.
Okay, right. Councillor, are you going to make a proposal that we...
Yeah, I think there may not be a contract, but I think there's a moral obligation there. And I think to answer Anne Skipworth's query, I think this comes from the family. And then comment is that the youth clubs 2 or 3 evenings a week accommodating up to 40 young people would be what Julie would be proud of, and the name lives on, and what more could her mother ask?
Okay.
So they're living there though, so they're not going to be able to live there.
No, we're not. Let's not. We've done really well up to this point, and now we're getting into an extended debate. So I'm actually going. I've got an idea to how to move this forward.
So
and you've already spoken, so I'm going to stop that there.
We accept the planning application.
Yeah.
We attach the dual story to it with a letter saying that the county council, the town council will be writing for more information as to how, with the loss of the upstairs accommodation, the county council is going to compensate the young people of Oakham.
Right. So there's a proposal from Councillor Clough that we accept it. However, we, as what she just said there, we approach the county council. Yeah. We might have to do that as separate because we have to consider this as a planning application only. So the proposal is we accept it. I'll probably go on to say that I will offer on what Peter said. Yes. Take forward your document to then take it to the county council and bring that back to the town council in the February meeting with what they've said. So the proposal is that it's accepted because it's turning it from a bed space into an office space basically. And you are correct, there has been legislation changes on young people in care.
We'll do a letter separately.
We'll do, yeah, well the chairman will carry up the second part of it. So proposal is accepted, and that's come from Councillor Clough, who's gone through all the trouble of getting the history, which has made it very emotive. Seconded by Councillor Wadsworth. All those in favour, show of hands. 1, 2 in favour. All those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all those abstaining. 1, 2. Is that how many is that add up to?
I missed Joyce's.
Councillor Lewis
voted for.
Are you voting for or against it? Don't ask why. Are you voting for, against, or abstaining?
I'm missing one person. Sorry.
Joyce.
Sorry.
Right. Okay. 3, 4.
3, 4, 5,
6. 6 against, and 2 abstentions. Is that right?
6, 7, 8, 1 extension.
No, I abstained. 2 abstentions.
2 abstentions.
All right. Okay.
What question was asked why, and councillors don't have to say, but you can actually be open and transparent. The reason I've voted against it is because Joy is likely to go away and get information which might come back and say, well, actually we don't want to accept this application because the young people are losing it. Yeah. And I think that is the case because I know, because it was when Terry King was in charge of things, that the family just handed the money over and it was said to be used to run the facility. So they've obviously spent the money.
Let's see if there's another proposal.
Yeah.
Right, does anybody else want to make any other proposals before? Because otherwise we're going to submit this.
I'll make a proposal, Chair, simply move on to this. This has been rejected. I would like to move that the council does not agree or does not approve the change of use and are very concerned about the loss of youth facilities.
Okay. Okay. Right. So that's
No, it fell. It fell.
Well, basically, the voting for it didn't go through. So now it's being voted as to actually reject it, specifically reject it based on the loss of youth services. That's proposed by Councillor Romney, seconded by Councillor Ryan. All those in favour, show of hands, please. Nice and broad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favour. Ironically, all those against, show of hands, please. And all those abstaining. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So we're missing one.
Did I miscount it? All those in favour again, show of hands, nice and clean. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, it was 5, 6, 7. So it's 7 for it and 4 abstentions.
So you sat in the blind spot,
Alright.
4 abstentions.
And do the council still want me to anyway approach? Right, okay. Can I have a copy of your paper?
Can I borrow your pen, Peter? My pen's just
I will still be approaching. I will still approach County Council and find out about what is actually written in stone. Yeah.
There may not be anything written.
No.
No.
Okay. Right. Brilliant.
So hang on, we're rejecting it on the grounds of loss of youth services.
Yeah. We haven't specified what the youth services are, but
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And you captured the other bit where it was voted for and rejected
Yeah,
as well.
I've done that,
Right, okay. Item 14 is decide whether to exempt.
I can't hear a word.
Exempt.
Have I spelled that right?
Exempt. Decide whether to exempt or exclude the press and public during consideration of item 16 on the agenda under section 100(2) of the Local Government Act. So do we need, and this is where we're going to be discussing the lease on the OCC building. Do we need to exempt, right, proposal to exempt, exclude the press and public, proposed by Councillor Bottomley, seconded by Councillor Lucas. All those in favour that we exempt? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And it's only proper we do.
10 against. Sorry, 10 for it. 10 for.
You understand?
And one against.
Right, so we need to turn everything off, please.
So we're gonna.
Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah, yes, if that's all right. Thank you very much. We're going to be discussing a lease. So.
So can we
It says your contract off, Martin.
Yeah, it's not been.
Do you need a?
Oh, no.
But I don't know.
Shame.
Good night.
I'm recording.
Oh, yeah.
Right, have you turned off your